Hey everyone, welcome into DomTime, our weekly roundup of all the things big and small. Maybe we don't have a chance to cover in a full show. And I'll talk about the Supreme Court in a moment, but Chuck Darrow from the Philadelphia Daily News and I share some tangential, at least, things to talk about. It's a bigger story than just the report out that Allen Iverson, allegedly by his wife, who's estranged from, may have kidnapped 5 of his kids or some number of his kids and may be holding them in a hotel in Georgia now. And you said something to me during the break talking about Iverson. This is the downside of the American dream, a guy who's achieved everything. You and I both have interviewed Mike Tyson recently. That's right. Mike Tyson arguably is in a much better place, I think, than Allen Iverson is.
Because Mike Tyson apparently got whatever that wake-up call in whatever form it came in.
Smart guy, too, I think.
Tyson, you know what? Absolutely. He's a really interesting guy. There's no doubt about it. But it's an internal thing, I guess. And again, considering Mike Tyson's upbringing and his backstory, Allen Iverson grew up in
royalty,
lap of luxury here.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it just boggles the mind that a person could fall so far to lose. Literally, he's lost everything, and to have it play out obviously in the public eye is just brutal. But of all the people who crossed his path during the good years, there wasn't one person who just wanted to help. He couldn't find one person to watch out for him, to say, you know what, maybe you don't need 5 Bentleys, maybe 4 or 3.
Well, let's talk about the casino angle, too, though, because he was reputed to be, and you know better than I, big thing in the casino. Yeah. Here's a question I have for you, and we might do a show on this. I'm not convinced that gambling is an addiction. I kind of reject that. I know about psychologically it is, but I've had people say the casinos ought to stop people from gambling.
You know what? That's like saying General Motors ought to stop people from getting behind the wheel drunk. I don't understand this whole casinos are the root of all evil. I know we're kind of going to get off on a tangent here, but since you brought it up, look, I think there is a psychological addiction. There is a rush that people, and I like to play poker. I used to host a poker show on the radio.
Right.
But I can get up. I lose whatever stake I bring. I don't go and
see poker. I get a little bit more. There is skill attached.
Right,
to
but
it,
it's still right. Exactly.
But with the other, just throwing something out there.
Exactly.
How much could an Iverson lose in a night before they'd stop him? Is it limitless? A guy with that kind of money?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the casino knows that even if he doesn't have the cash on him, they know what he is worth. So they're just cutting markers, meaning credit slips. Iverson is essentially borrowing X amount of money, $50,000, $100,000, that the casino will collect one way or the other. And I'm going to guess that a $500,000 or a quarter, say $250,000 in a night if he's particularly on a bad streak. So I'm sure that has happened. I don't know the exact numbers.
No, I hear it, but the point for viewers is when people hear a guy made $150 million, $125 million in his career, how the heck do you blow that? There you go. You lose $250,000 a few nights here and there.
Right, but beyond that though, you go with your posse and buy everybody right, exactly. Yeah. I mean seriously, I would imagine that a guy like Allen Iverson has probably purchased for cash, I'm sure, because he's not doing the paperwork and everything. I'm sure he has bought 50 cars easily, and the houses that he bought, he spent millions and millions on houses. But it's a shame that there was nobody there. And where was, I think David Falk, I believe was his agent. That was the gentleman's name.
Right.
Where was this guy? He knew what was he couldn't see where Iverson was headed to. So I feel a lot of people vilify Iverson, say, well, he made that choice, and this is what you get. What you sow what you reap. But I feel sorry for the guy. Apparently, he had nobody who had his back.
Now, big story this week. Supreme Court says, and I went there when a lot of this was going down, the Arizona law, and it pertains to us. It's Proposition 200. It says, Chuck, that they can ask for proof of citizenship when you're doing that federal motor voter, which is an easy way to register for vote. I support that, and I've said I support that, because under this, you can lie, and I don't think anybody's going to track you down. Now, for us, it's a simple thing. Voter ID is still out there in Pennsylvania, still hasn't made its way fully through the courts, but to me, it's a pretty simple thing.
Yeah, but this actually, I got to admit, I was a little surprised that the Supreme Court,
7-2, Scalia, on the majority side on this.
So that I think that tells you something, and I got to believe that when it gets to the appeals level in Pennsylvania, that today's ruling has to play in the justices' minds. Because while they are separate issues, and we probably don't want to bore everybody to go into the nuances of the differences. They are part of the same bigger picture, which a lot of people perceive as simply a way to suppress minority votes. And I said, with this sort of ringing in their ears, I would imagine that, first of all, just the fact that they put a temporary hold on it, they wouldn't let it be enacted last election, last November. Even that I found a little bit surprising, given the conservative bent of Pennsylvania in general and politically and so on. So I think if I'm the Republicans who are championing this thing, I'm certainly not throwing in the towel, but I'm a little concerned that this was bad timing. I think it still may pass in Pennsylvania, but I have to believe that it's going to be a little bit harder row to hoe.
Now, you cover things where there's a lot of nightlife. I associate you with that over the years.
Which explains this, the face.
One form or another. And big issue in Pennsylvania. In fact, I have the governor's show again. We're getting down to the final straw of this goofy thing in Pennsylvania for 90 years of having to go to state stores, what I still call it, to get alcohol.
Right.
And then there's a beer distributorship guy, and there's people going on borders to bring stuff back. And it looks like Corbett is this close to getting it passed. Any sense of what that would mean other than it's just convenient and we're like adults?
I think that Pennsylvania adults will finally be treated like Pennsylvania adults. Remember, the state store system was not set up to be a revenue raiser for the state. It was set up purely to make it as difficult as possible post-prohibition to buy booze. Exactly. I mean, people are going to drink, just like they're going to gamble and so on and so forth. So, and it makes no sense for the state to be in just a bureaucracy, to be operating the bureaucracy that is entailed, or I would imagine is entailed by the
My
state store
prediction
system.
is we'll get it, but it might not be quite what Corbett wants.
Well, they'll throw a couple bones.
Then there'll be a big argument about was it really privatization or not, because this plays out. If he gets it, I predict he wins the governor's race. If he doesn't get it, he's on the ropes.
Although this gasoline tax is not going to help him.
Oh, you're aware of that? Okay, let's talk to gas tax too, because this is something I'm going to bring him up, and I'm a big supporter. But on this, no. Viewers should know under this transportation bill, you and I, if we're in Pennsylvania, will pay about 28.5 cents more over 3 years. And diesel fuel, trucks bringing food to our supermarkets, about 39 cents, and your registration goes up to $52. And there could be a $100 surcharge on your ticket, if you get a speeding ticket, on top of the speeding ticket, to pay for all this. And these are Republicans?
You know, I never saw Corbett as having that kind of intestinal fortitude, politically speaking, because he hasn't really shown much so far. And it's one thing for anybody but a Republican governor to go and do something and raise taxes in this environment. But usually the taxes are raised on specific demographic groups or basically smokers.
You can raise
the
sin
tax, exactly. Another 10 cents a drink. Who cares, right? I don't drink. Blah, blah, blah. But this impacts every single human being.
28.5 cents more.
And that is, I mean, the Tea Party has been sort of silent though in all this so far, haven't it?
It's just starting to bubble up. Where the heat will be coming in the next couple days.
And given the past performances in terms of political courage of the Pennsylvania State Legislature, I don't see it flying. It's a shame though, because the problem is with I know you and I probably disagree with this or on this point. That in and of themselves, the idea of taxes don't bother me. It's what the taxes it's what the taxes are used for. And I can't think of a better thing other than part maybe education of the kids, but for the infrastructure, because that is truly
coming up. We will talk about education. Philadelphia Public Schools. They won $120 million, and they have 4 people on a hunger strike in front of Corbett's office here in Philadelphia. What'll happen ahead as our weekly roundup continues with Chuck Darrow and DomTime.